Hi, writers. I hope you're doing well. Today, we are going to look at a sentence from Sophie's Masterpiece by Eileen Spinelli. I hope you had a chance to watch that one through Storyline Online. And let's go ahead and jump right into it. Let's see what we notice. Here's the sentence. She saw dull green walls, faded rugs, and old window shades. What do you notice Eileen Spinelli did as a writer when she wrote this sentence? What are some things that you notice? Take a look. So I'm sure you noticed the capital letter at the beginning and the period at the end. Do you see any other capital letters in that sentence? I don't either, because we don't have any names and we don't have the pronoun I, so we don't need any other capital letters. You may have noticed that the sentence takes place in the past because saw is the past tense form of see. You may have noticed the word she, which stands in for a noun. In this case, it's talking about Sophie is the antecedent that goes with that. She saw dull green walls, faded rugs, and old window shades. You may have noticed all the description that Eileen Spinelli put in this sentence. The dull green walls. Instead of just saying walls, she said what kind of walls. She said what kind of rugs. She said what kind of window shades, right? And it kind of helped us visualize the room that she was in. To me, it seems like almost antique and old and dusty and murky. What else did you notice as she's describing these things? I bet you notice these commas here that are separating. Remember, commas are used to separate. So what are they separating here in this sentence? Yeah, she's using those commas to separate what she saw, right? Items in a list. She saw dull green walls. She saw faded rugs, and she saw old window shades. So instead of saying she saw dull green walls, period, she saw faded rugs, period, and she saw old window shades, period, Eileen decided to combine all of those short sentences into one, because otherwise it would be pretty repetitive to say she saw, she saw, she saw. Instead, she's listing what she saw using those commas. So we can use commas to separate items in a list or even to combine repetitive sentences. Let me tell you a little bit more about that. So here, what if she wrote it like this? She saw dull green walls. She saw faded rugs. She saw old window shades. Do you hear how repetitive that is? It starts the same way every single time with she saw, she saw, she saw. So one thing you can do when you're revising and even when you're editing is you can look for times where you repeat yourself over and over again. Now, sometimes authors choose to repeat themselves to have an effect on the reader. But sometimes we just don't realize it until we really look and see that we are repeating ourselves over and over again. So if you find out that you are repeating the same way you're starting the sentence over and over again, just like this, you can combine all of those ideas into one sentence like Eileen did. So she saw, and then she lists what she saw. Dull green walls, and separate those with a comma. Faded rugs, comma, and old window shades. So that is one thing that you can do, is you can use commas to list items, to separate items in a list, and you can also use those commas to separate when you're combining sentences that are repetitive. So now let's take a look. What do we have now? She scuttled out of the closet, down the hall, and into the cook's bedroom slipper. Another sentence from Sophie's Masterpiece, where Eileen did kind of the same thing. So what do you notice is the same, and what do you notice is different about these two sentences? So you may have noticed they both start with she, They are both in past tense as they've already happened. She saw and she scuttled. You probably noticed the commas of where she could either combined the sentences or she's listing the items. Now it's interesting. Let's take a look at the list. How are those lists different? That's right. The first sentence is listing what she saw, whereas the second sentence is listing where she scuttled out of the closet, down the hall, into the cook's bedroom slipper. So maybe originally Eileen said she scuttled out of the closet, period. She scuttled down the hall, period. She scuttled into the cook's bedroom slipper, period. And she combined all of those to start with she scuttled and then list all the places where she scuttled. Did you notice the two-word sentence there? She scuttled. So you can use a two-word sentence and add details by listing as well. That's something that you can do as a writer with your two-word sentences that you have from the very beginning of lesson that we did. So we can use commas to separate items in a list or to combine repetitive sentences. So be thinking about that because in our next time together, in our next video, we're going to write our own sentence that uses those commas to list things or to combine repetitive sentences. See you then.